Welcome to the deep dive. You know, there's always that one piece of gear that you just see on, like, everyone's pedal board.
Mm-hmm. The industry standard.
Exactly. And today we are cracking open the BIAS TR2 Tremolo. It's been defining what a tremolo pedal is since it first came out, back in 1997?
That's right. And our mission today is really to give you the key knowledge, the shortcut to understanding why this little green box is so iconic.
Okay.
We're going to look at its electronics, which are actually surprisingly modern for the time, its versatility, and just why it became this essential tool for, well, almost everyone.
Yeah, and I think the big thing everyone says is that it just perfectly nailed that warm, authentic tremolo sound. You know, the kind you'd get from a big old Fender or Vox tube amp.
Right, but it put it in that classic bulletproof BISS enclosure.
Which was huge.
Yeah.
But to really get why it was such a big deal, we kind of have to go back to what things were like before 1997.
Yeah, you really do. Before the TR2 showed up, if you wanted tremolo, you faced some real hurdles.
It's a fundamental effect, but it wasn't simple to just, get it on your board.
Not at all. Your options were pretty limited. I mean, first you had it built into your amp, which sounds great, but then you're stuck with that one sound.
You're tied to that amp.
Totally. Or you were looking at, like, these giant multi-effects rack units or some of the early boutique pedals.
And those were not always practical for the average musician.
No. They were expensive, sometimes not very reliable for touring, and the tone could be, well, a little all over the place.
So the TR2 just walks right into that gap. It offers something that was surprisingly hard to find. Reliable, affordable tremolo with just 3 simple knobs.
It was plug and play in a way nothing else was, and that's why it just instantly became the standard for surf, for blues, indie, shoegaze, you name it.
But that flexibility isn't just a happy accident. It's all in the circuitry.
100%. We have to look at the core architecture. It's an analog pedal, but it uses what's called VCA topology, a voltage control amplifier.
Okay, VCA, that's the key term here.
It's the whole secret.
Because the classic tremolo sounds, the ones everyone loved, they came from 2 bias circuits, right? Which, I mean, they sounded amazing, but they had their issues.
Oh, absolutely. They were noisy, often inconsistent. And the TR2 is fundamentally not a tube-bias tremolo. That was a very deliberate choice by Biote.
So they chose precision over maybe a strict vintage recreation?
Exactly. They basically traded that noisy, sometimes chaotic tube authenticity for modern reliability. A VCA manages the volume with a controlled circuit instead of by, messing with the tube's voltage.
So for the player, what does that actually mean when you plug it in? What's the practical difference?
2 massive things. First, the noise floor is way, way lower. That hiss and hum you get from old tremolos, it's just gone.
Okay, that's huge.
And second, you get a super consistent waveform. It behaves predictably at any speed or depth. It doesn't get muddy or weird at extreme settings. It's just solid.
And it has that buffered bypass, too, which kind of fits that whole philosophy of signal integrity. It's built for a professional rig.
Absolutely. It's modern engineering for a vintage sound, which brings us to the controls. We have the rate, the depth, and the wave knob.
Right. Rate and depth are pretty straightforward. Rate is just the speed from a really slow, gentle pulse to an almost machine gun stutter when you max it out.
Yeah, and depth is the intensity. You can set it for just a little shimmer of movement, or you can crank it for those really dramatic, deep volume cuts.
But the real magic, the thing that gives this pedal such a long life, has to be that wave knob. It changes everything.
It's the most important control in the pedal, by far. It's basically changing the entire rhythmic feel of the effect.
So if you turn it all the way to the left?
You get a smooth, rounded sine wave. That's your classic, warm, vintage amp tremolo.
Yeah.
Super musical, very soft. Think old Fender Blackface amps or, classic surf rock.
And then you start twisting it to the right, and it's like a completely different pedal.
It totally transforms. The wave shape gets sharper, moving towards a square wave. That's where you find the choppy, percussive sounds.
And if you max it out,
you get this really cool synth-like gating effect.
Yeah.
Very staccato and rhythmic. It takes the pedal from this subtle atmospheric thing into a really aggressive rhythmic tool.
Okay, so let's talk about using it. The pedal is famous for being really transparent. It doesn't really color your core tone.
Right. It's very clean.
What does that mean for where you put it in your signal chain? Because that seems to be a big point of discussion.
It's crucial. It means you basically have 2 completely different sonic palettes available just based on where you place it relative to your drive pedals.
Okay, so let's walk through that. Case 1, I put the TR2 before my distortion or my overdrive.
If you put tremolo into dirt, you're essentially mimicking an amp's tremolo circuit. The distortion stage is being fed a pulsating signal.
So the result is what?
Softer.
Much warmer, more integrated. It sounds like your whole distorted tone is breathing. It's more organic, perfect for blues or classic rock where you want the effect to feel like it's part of the amp.
Okay, but then you flip it. You run your distortion into the TR2. Now you're talking. The effect becomes way more dramatic. You get these clean, sharp, rhythmic pulses that just slice right through everything.
Why is it so much more aggressive that way?
Because the pedal is chopping a signal that's already loud and compressed from the distortion. So the silence is more silent, and the sound is more abrupt. That's the sound for modern alternative, for shoegaze.
That fluttery pulse, yeah. Or for ambient pads, I see.
And that clean VCA circuit is what makes that placement work so well. It doesn't get muddy.
You know, when you think about it coming out in 97, it really did set the template for what a modern tremolo pedal should be.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
That wave control became so influential, you started seeing it pop up on all kinds of boutique pedals after the TR2 made it a standard feature. It just set the bar.
It's just a workhorse. It's quiet, it's tough, it's flexible, and it's not crazy expensive.
And it works on anything. Guitar, bass, keyboards. That square wave is amazing on synths.
But like any piece of gear, it's not perfect. There are some critical things to know if you're thinking about buying one today.
For sure. And the first one is a really important bit of history. The very early units.
The ones from before the early 2000s.
Yes. They had a noticeable volume drop when you turned the pedal on. BIS fixed it later with a circuit revision, but if you're buying a vintage one, that's something you have to be aware of.
That is the ultimate pedal frustration, that volume drop. So that's a huge tip for anyone shopping used.
Definitely. Second, as we said, it is VCA-based. It's not a tube bias circuit.
So if you're a purist looking for that specific kind of messy tube character.
Just won't give you that exact texture. It's a clean tremolo. You're treating that very specific vintage quirk for modern consistency and low noise.
The very deliberate trade-off.
Exactly. And lastly, for modern players, there's no tap tempo. It's all manual control with the rate knob. And while the square wave is great, some sources say it's not quite as razor sharp as some of the super high-end boutique pedals that are built only for that hard chop effect.
That's a perfect rundown. The BASS TR2 is iconic because it was built on that exact trade-off. It just decided to prioritize VCA precision and flexibility over a noisy and frankly less reliable past. It gives you this incredible range from vintage warmth to a modern pulse. In a box you could probably throw off a building. It just works.
And that choice, that decision by BASS to go for modern reliability over a strict, noisy copy of an old tube circuit is its entire legacy.
Yeah.
And it really leaves you with a question, for your own effects design.
What's that?
Does being authentic to an old, sometimes flawed circuit always give you the best result? Or is flexibility, low noise, and consistency like the TR2 proved ultimately more valuable for the modern musician? Something to think about when you're building your own sound.